Hi, I'm Tom Marks with the Marks Law Firm, and welcome back to the Healthy Family Law Attorney channel. I believe your family matters, and I want to provide hope and help to your family to navigate through the family law process in a healthy way. So I'm excited today. We have our first interview on the channel. We're going to talk about the family home. We're going to talk about selling the house in the divorce process. And I'm excited to introduce Alicia Spears with Alicia Spears Realty. How are you today, Alicia?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Everything's great?
Yep. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to say that Alicia approaches life with intent and mindfulness. She is known as the on-purpose realtor because she actually meant to get into the business. And Alicia actually has a bachelor's degree in real estate. So Alicia, give us a little bit of background about you and what you're all about.
Yeah, well, it's true. I did actually mean to get into this business. It wasn't a second career, and it was actually an on-purpose career. And I really felt that this industry, the bar needed to be raised. So I took it upon myself to raise the bar and standards for myself and actually got my degree in real estate. So I feel that, the home is usually the biggest asset in one's portfolio. And I feel that it deserves education and training and intent and mindfulness when you're hiring a real estate agent. So.
Okay, well, good. So tell us, why do people sell their houses generally?
The reason why people sell houses is a lifestyle change, right? So either maybe you're single and now you're getting married, so you need a bigger home. Maybe now you're married and you have children, so now you need a bigger home than that. Maybe, there's always a life change that triggers the reason for the sale, a job promotion, children, family, empty nest, or divorce, or even death. So honestly, it's just a lifestyle change.
Okay, so let's focus on divorce, right? Because as you said, the family home is typically the largest asset in the divorce process. And so there are a lot of reasons in a divorce that people need to sell the house. It may be that they can't afford to live in such a large house after the divorce, because obviously they're going to be in separate households. They're going to have two different mortgages or rent or whatever. So how do you deal with families going through the divorce? Because it might be a high conflict case. There might be a lot of emotion involved. So how do you help those families navigate the divorce process selling the house?
Yeah, it's true. So my job as a real estate agent and selling, the actual transactional part of selling a home remains the same. But when I'm dealing with a divorce could be high emotions. I mean, there's definitely plenty of divorces that are amicable and, smooth waters and smooth sailing and you get to closing. But there are those that are high emotions, and it now becomes my job of managing, first of all, my own emotions, because it can get stressful. So I always have to approach with mindfulness and intent to manage my own emotions, and then be aware and recognize what the other people are going through, and the one thing is that and we didn't really talk about this, but I have experience in divorce, being a child of divorce, and it was a pretty rough divorce. So I have some experience and empathy and know what it's like to be on that other side. So I approach it with, first of all, not judging the divorce. I think that's really key. To not judge the divorce, and then also to treat both parties with dignity and respect. So, and every case is different. So I just have to come with an open mind, with calmness and awareness, and remember to keep the end game, the eye on the prize, I guess. We're trying to get to closing. So I'm just helping everybody get there.
Okay, and that's good. Unlike the attorneys who are representing the two parties, you're actually neutral. You're not taking sides, one spouse over the other. Is that right?
That's correct. So I actually represent the transaction, which is true in real estate. A lot of times people say, oh, my buyer's agent, like I represent the buyers. Well, I'm not a lawyer. I don't actually ever represent the buyers or the seller. I always represent the transaction. But it goes back to what I was saying before, that yes, I am representing the transaction, trying to get that house sold, trying to get it to closing, but I have to help manage and guide both parties. And yes, it does get tricky because sometimes they flip on me. Sometimes they like me. And then if the other one likes me more, then this one doesn't like me. So it's all about that emotional awareness and being able to be neutral and to treat each of them with dignity and respect, and with no favoritism, but my eye on the transaction and helping them sell at the highest price possible. So
speaking of the transaction, oftentimes you're going to have to help the husband and wife both navigate through the closing. So let's say, obviously there's typically going to be a mortgage, right? So you got to deal with the first mortgage, the payoff there. But sometimes there's a second, or maybe even a third, or maybe a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. Mm-hmm. So what is your role in dealing with all of that, and maybe dealing with the lender or the mortgage broker?
Again, we're in a divorce situation, but my role as a real estate agent stays the same no matter who I'm helping. So once we get into contract, okay? So once we're in contract and I'm representing that transaction and getting it to closing, I actually become more of a project manager. It just doesn't take Alicia Spears to sell the house. I bring the buyer and the seller together for that fee and get it into contract. But then I become a project manager and making sure everyone is talking to each other. So the title company is the one that is actually going to be doing, I call them the brains of the operation, because they're making sure that house is actually marketable and sellable. They're clearing all the clouds on the title. The mortgage company, either on the mortgage, so there's a mortgage, the lender side is handling payoffs and, actually managing the buyer side, whoever's buying that property. Title is actually getting the payoffs and making sure that we're able to sell the property. So it actually takes a team of people. And at that point, once we're in contract, I'm actually a project manager of all of the moving parts that work together to get it to closing. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, awesome. And how long have you been doing this?
So I actually got my license in 2006. And then, real estate, let's face it, low barrier of entry, right? I'm sure you know more than one real estate agent. So
I might.
Maybe two more. So I took it upon myself to raise the bar. And that's when I actually got my degree in real estate, because I felt there was a serious need. So I've been in the industry since 2006, but I've been a homemaker for many years, and residential real estate is my passion. So, and a fun fact, I'm actually working on a second degree in interior design. So that's my COVID-19 quarantine passion right now.
Well, that's interesting, because you probably help the parties do some staging and setup.
Absolutely.
And I know that you take photos of the house and use that as part of the marketing process.
Yeah. And thank you for reminding me, because I think that it's very important to know that when people hire me as their real estate agent in a divorce situation, I'm going to protect them and not sell their house at a discount, because I feel, there are some people that hear, oh, it's a divorce, so it should be a bargain, right? So I am able to come in and stage that house and to make it a product that should sell on the retail market as opposed to the wholesale market. And I do that by staging and coming in and making sure that the house doesn't have divorce written all over it. I feel that divorce is a lifestyle change, and it should be no different than someone selling their home to move up. So I really am conscious about the price and making sure that the sellers, the separating couple, the divorcing couple, actually get the most. I sell at the highest price possible. Like, I do not look at it like, oh, it's a divorce, so we're going to sell it fast, like a fire sale.
Right. And so I'm aware that you recently had a listing that you got under contract that apparently had some mold issues. And so you recommended to the parties, the husband and wife, to have a home inspection or a mold inspection. What happened there, and how did that turn out?
So what happened was, in a situation with a divorce, it becomes a lot of he said, she said, you don't know what to believe. And I always ask for sellers to fill out their seller's disclosures. That's a common thing for sellers, just to say, hey, you need to list everything that like latent defects that materially affect the home that aren't seen by the visible eye. So when I always recommend for sellers to have their own home inspection. So we didn't know that there was mold. We didn't know that there was a problem, because they were actually so caught up and self-absorbed in their trauma that was going on that they weren't seeing clearly and even recognizing that there was an active leak going on. So thankfully, they heeded my advice and got that home inspection. And we actually used that home inspection as full transparency and showed that to the buyer as their seller's disclosure. So that is what actually catapulted the whole situation. We found the leak, we got it fixed. And, so it was actually the home inspection that revealed what was actually wrong with the house. They had no idea.
Right. And you remedied the situation, because otherwise, if a buyer had purchased it without that being disclosed, it'd be a whole new legal issue for the clients, for the sellers. So I actually have personal knowledge of how amazing you are as a realtor, because I have a client who owned a high value home that had been on the market for 15 months without any offers. Mm-hmm. And my client and her husband were willing to make a change because of that, because they're getting no offers on the house for some reason. And I still don't understand how that could be for 15 months.
Yeah.
But got you the listing. My memory is that in less than 10 days, you got the house under contract for virtually full price. Yeah. Is that right?
That is true. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, kudos where kudos are due. I mean, that was fantastic. So helpful to my client and her husband.
Yes. And I will tell you that there are two reasons why a house sells or doesn't sell, and it's exposure and price. So, in that particular case, you are correct. It was on the market for 15 months and there were no takers on it. The question is, was it being exposed? Well, yes, it was being exposed, but it was being exposed to the wrong buyer pool. So what I did is I came in and recognized that they were marketing to a buyer pool that had higher expectations than what the house delivered. So I actually just made some adjustments, and it was adjustments in price, but then it opened up a whole pool of buyers that managed their expectations, and it actually checked all their boxes. So we actually did have multiple offers within 9 days, and that actually drove the price up to full market value. And we sold basically, in my eyes, basically list price. So
That was awesome. Didn't you do something with requiring prospective buyers to be pre-authorized?
Okay, so my high end, well, actually I say high end, but honestly, all of my houses, I make sure that any buyer agent that brings their buyer to see my property, before they even walk in the door, they have to tell me who their lender is or show proof of funds. And that was especially in high-end houses, especially over $2 million, you're going to get people that just want to see fancy houses. So I mitigate that and stop it right there. And I won't even let you in the front door until you actually the realtor shows proof of funds, or the buyer calling me on the phone has proof of funds, or that they're qualified. So I think that by doing that, now I know that I have quality buyers. I say no to a lot of people and maybe make them a little upset, but I'm protecting the seller and protecting the sale of the house. I want quality, so they have to jump through the hoops. And and the real buyers, it's like cream of the crop. They rose to the top, and they could have a bidding war, and the highest person won. So.
And that's great. The highest person won, and also the clients or the husband and wife selling the house,
Exactly.
right? The
Exactly.
owners. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand you also have a designation, a certified divorce specialist. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so I do. I hold a certified divorce specialist designation, and because divorce it's an important part of my life. It shaped who I was. And I feel that it's important that I take the extra mile, go the extra mile, because my hope is that I reach parents that they'll know my story, and maybe take a different approach and be a little bit more civil. I'm trying to articulate this. I don't know if I'm doing a really good job of it. But it's so important that I just want, okay, here's the thing. All right. This is my belief in a divorce. And like I said, I was a child of a pretty bad divorce. The separation lasted for 8 years, and it had a huge impact on me. It delayed who I was supposed to be, and I experienced a lot of trauma from that. So with a certified divorce specialist designation, I feel that it shows that I go the extra mile, and I know that divorce is just a family evolving. And my hope is that children know that that doesn't mean your family is broken. It just means that it's changed, because it always affected me when people would label me that I came from a broken home. I mean, it's shameful. Right. It's shameful. Right. So I think that, I hope people will respect the fact that I'm getting these educational designations, but ultimately it is just to help people get through their ups and downs. I'm just trying to offer them hope and dignity, and not shame them for getting a divorce. A divorce, right. It's a lifestyle change. You tried, it is what it is, you know.
Right.
So that's why I have the certified designation or divorce.
Well, it shows, because of your background, that you have empathy. I'm also from a broken family. You know, my parents went to divorce when I was younger. But I think that helps us have greater empathy because we've been through it, number one. Number two, it's not all about just what we know. I mean, sure, we have skill sets, we have experience. I have 34 years as an attorney. But as one of my favorite authors says, and his name, John Maxwell says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's why I want to provide that hope and help to families. You know, that's why I believe that families, matter. My clients, their lives matter. So, when I'm analyzing from the lawyer side of it, whether the house should sell. Of course, if I in collaboration with my client, there's a good word, collaboration, and I'm a big believer in collaborative law too. But if we agree that the house should sell, then obviously I'm going to be looking for a great realtor to refer them to. But there are some circumstances where we're not going to sell the house. And those might be, the children might be, say, in middle school or high school, they want to finish out at their school. My client, maybe the wife, wants to stay in the marital home until the youngest child turns 18 and graduates. Well, that's a real goal. That's a real reason. The court can take that in consideration. And oftentimes the other spouse will agree to that, and we can delay the sale of the house, and we can work out how that gets divided when it gets sold, or we can fund that equitable distribution is what we call it. When my client will keep the house, or the other side may keep the house. And sometimes there's strategic reasons for alimony, there's an established standard of living during the marriage where maybe one client wants to stay in the house because that's what they were used to during the marriage, and maybe it was a long-term marriage. So, but on the flip side, there may be some unhappy memories in the house, and they want to leave. So there's a lot of different variables that the attorney needs to talk to the client about way before you get a realtor involved. But once you get the realtor involved, that means the clients have made a decision to sell the house.
That's correct. And I am not in the business. So I'm not the decision maker in the transaction. So I'm really just giving information so that the seller can make the best decision for themselves. It's no different in a divorce case because the real estate transaction remains the same. Everything that I do remains the same. It's just I have to be aware and empathetic to the stresses that they're going through. I am not in the business of making people sell their house. And you're right. Once they come to me, they've pretty much already made the decision that, hey, we're going to sell. Now that said, I have heard stories where families don't want to sell for the kids. And I will tell you that, kids are resilient, and it depends on, the parents and what they decide, but I will say that sometimes, just making the change and might be better, because now this house that used to be their happiness, right? They remember mom and dad at the table and all that stuff. Well, now if you stay in the house and now dad's not there, that can maybe have some effects as well. I'm not a therapist, but I definitely think it's something to consider that staying in the house may or may not be the best decision if you're doing it for the kids. It might just bring on lingering sadness or whatever the emotion that maybe they can't. it hinders them from moving forward. And, coming from divorce, I mean, my dream was that my parents would get back together, right? I loved The Parent Trap. So the original version of The Parent Trap.
Right.
But it's not my decision,
Right. Well, you brought up a really important point, and that you said you're not a therapist, and I'm not a therapist either, but as I like to say, our letterhead says attorneys and counselors at law.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the counselor means I have a license. I'm not a licensed mental health therapist, but I'm going to tell you, and I know it's true for you, there's a lot of therapeutic type discussions that go on with clients, whether yours or mine, going through a family law process, because some judges even say that most family law clients are temporarily insane because the emotions are so high. It's such a huge loss. It's so much psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, that is so hurtful or shameful, as you had said before. And that's why in my channel, I want to talk about healthy ways to approach the process, collaborative law to avoid litigation. I'd been in a collaborative setting where in the first meeting, the parties said, oh my gosh, yes, I would like my wife to stay in the house so the kids don't get disrupted. And the only question was, at that point, we didn't need a realtor. We needed a mortgage broker because we needed to refinance the house. So I want to stay focused on the healthy, and I'm glad to hear that you really walk through with your clients in the sale of the house. You stay neutral, you stay engaged, you understand the emotion that's going on in the case. And so I'm really happy to hear that. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found value in it, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. If you have liked the video and you'd like to subscribe, we are posting new videos every Wednesday at noon. So subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button so you'll get notifications of the new videos when they go live. This is kind of a new part of the channel where I'm doing these interviews. I actually enjoy this probably more because I'm an extrovert. I'm someone who really loves people. That's why I love family law. And I have a great relationship with Alicia. And so I'm excited about this. I want to give one healthy tip, and maybe Alicia can give us a healthy tip when I'm done.
Okay.
My tip for today is give yourself a break. Take some time to recharge the batteries, get away. If you see my background is different, this is not a virtual background. I am actually at the beach. So I'm videoing this. I'm working remotely, as most of us are today, but I'm taking a break too. So recharge the batteries, kind of refocus, get some time alone, do some praying, meditating, whatever, continue to eat healthy and all that. But that's my tip for the day. Alicia, any last words?
So I am not at the beach, but okay, my healthy tip, I will say drink water. So I think that hydrating, it's good for the skin, and it's hard for me sometimes, but I sometimes have to force water. So there it is. Drink water. Water is life.
Good tip, Alicia. I think I've heard that you're supposed to drink half your body weight in ounces in water a day. So if you weigh 100...
I am not going to weigh myself in ounces. That's like a deal breaker.
No. So if you weigh 110 pounds, then you can drink half that.
When I was a freshman in high school.
Anyway, there's the tip. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed this so much.
Tom.
And again, I hope it really added some value to our viewers.
I hope
so. We look forward to it. I'll see you next Wednesday at our next our video. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.